What up, guys? Jason Gieman here, King of Pressure Wash, and tonight I have a special guest on, and I forgot to send my text out because you know what? I'm not perfect either, but I will be sending it out once I get Mr. Dallas ready, running, and going. But tonight, I just wanted to talk about how you grew your business in this last year, some of the struggles that you've had to do, and that is going to be our goal for tonight of how you got started, where you going, what your all's goals are, because again, if you don't have goals, you're going to not be able to go. And so I met Dallas in Raleigh, North Carolina. They came down and did a class with me in September, I believe it was. And so with that, Dallas, just tell me a little bit about who are you, where are you from, and just a little bit about your story.
Yeah, of course. How's it going, guys? My name is Dallas Roach from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm the owner and operator of Aqua exterior cleaning services. And really, the beginning of our story, as you know, I have a 50-50 partner, me and Patrick Wigginton. We're in the business together day in and day out. We really, we both had full-time jobs at the start of last year, and we came together and we were both just kind of sick of working for other people and making other people money. So we went and had lunch, and Aqua Rents, the name, we actually came up when we lived together in Florida a couple years prior, but we never did anything with it. So we had lunch and we decided we're gonna go for it. So we actually sat down, started watching YouTube videos. Some of King of Pressure Washing videos were some of the first videos we watched, and we realized this is something that we think we can do. So we actually started out with one of these little flyers. These are like, customers' information here, what jobs we can do here, and then they sign at the bottom. And we just set out in my neighborhood. We started knocking doors because my background, I was a canvas manager for a few years, so I know how to knock doors pretty well. And we set out. So we started knocking doors in my neighborhood. We got 3 leads right off the bat within not even an hour. And the next day we end up selling 2 of those leads. And I'm like, okay, we got something here. Let's start doubling down and really, going for it. And that's kind of how we started.
So let's go back a little bit and let's talk a little bit about what moved you from Florida to St. Louis.
Yeah, for sure. So me and Patrick, my mom lived down in Florida, down in Cape Coral. So me and Patrick needed a change of scenery, and we were like, "Hey, let's move down with my mom, get next to the beach, and see what we can do down there." And we ended up getting a job on the beach, and I was a dolphin tour guide. Pat was a cabana boy, and we worked on the beach. And yeah, that's kind of, we just lived down there for a couple years, and then we realized that that really wasn't, our place. We wanted to come back home with our family, our other family and friends. And once we moved back to St. Louis, that's kind of when me and him decided we were going to start the business together.
So with that, you all kind of went all in. You quit your jobs and you're like, I'm going to do this pressure washing thing. What was your goal originally for 2023?
Our goal originally for 2023 was me and Patrick. The first thing that we needed to do was sit down and figure out our budget and what amount of money me and Pat both needed to survive. And that was one thing that someone had told us in the very beginning was you just need to survive year one. And if you can survive year one, then you'll be good from there on out. So that was kind of stuck in our mind. So that our number one goal was just to survive, do whatever we had to do to, get to that end of year one goal.
So let's talk about year one. What were some of the challenges and highlights and key learning points? Because we always know that we learn from our failures. So, year
Yeah.
one, what were some highlights and challenges that were some key learning points?
Yeah, man. Year one was it was definitely one for the books. Right away, me and Pat, we didn't really understand that. Just from watching videos, you can understand the process, but until you take action and get out there, you don't really know what all you're doing. So we bought a bunch of, we bought power washers from Home Depot. We bought a telescopic pole that, a 20, 30 foot telescopic pole, and we're like, we'll be able to wash everything with this thing. And realized very soon that that wasn't the way. And we tried washing a 2-story house with it, and it was, we were holding it like this, and it was waving in the wind, and we're like, all right, I don't know if this pressure washing thing is for us anymore.
So they
Um,
call that a noodle. The old days before they started soft washing, that was called a noodle, and now you know why it's called a noodle.
yes, 100%. And then after that day with the wind and the noodle in the air, we did some more research and found out about soft washing, and we came up with our own chemical, like mix that we came up with online. And once we applied that chemical, we had a family friend actually reach out to us and allow us to test it on their house. And because we had all this stuff from Home Depot, the purple, whatever cleaner you could get, and then we had the house mix that we ended up making. So nothing really worked well, but once we got to the house mix, which was the SH and our surfactant, we immediately saw results, and we're like, it was a turning point in our business. As soon as we saw the mold and algae just disappearing off the side of the building or the house, we knew, like, all right, we got something here. We can actually clean these houses now instead of trying to blast pressure on it, which you're not supposed to do. But yeah, as soon as we found that out, we were extremely happy.
So with that, you had some challenges, and you're going through and you're figuring it out. And when was like your first big win of we're going to actually make it, and it's going to actually this is going to be something that we're going to keep going through and making things happen.
Yeah, it was so our first month we did about $2,500 in sales, so it wasn't too much. But the second month we doubled that and we did 5K, which so we started seeing like, okay, we can actually do something here the more work we put in. Month 3, we actually secured our first big commercial job, which was a $10,500 apartment clean. And as soon as we did that, we were able to complete that job in 5 days. It was a mind blowing thing for me. I was like, wow, we can make 10 grand in 5 days. We need to go pass our business cards out to every apartment complex that we can see. And that was our first big win. And once we completed that job, it was just me and Pat, two people, a Home Depot power washer, you know, and we got it done.
So tell me something that you do, and I know some other people have done, and some people aren't very good at it. And I want to get on it pretty hard. Of door knocking. That has been. Other than that, have you done much marketing other than door knocking? I know you do some other things, but we'll hit on that. But door knocking was really what got you started, correct?
Yeah, door knocking was our first form, a proof of concept, really, to prove to us that we actually, because something I've always been told is if you can door knock, you'll never be poor. You can sell anything at the door. So as soon as we started getting those immediate leads and seeing that we can convert them and actually sell them into paying jobs, it was a no-brainer for us. So these actually, right here, these yellow things on the wall are actually all maps of our area. So we actually map it out. We'll go pick a neighborhood for the day. We'll either put flyers on or knock the doors and talk to the customers and see what is the average project in that neighborhood and find leads from that.
So, so how often do you go into these neighborhoods? Do you just go one and done, or how often do you try to knock on these doors?
Any day that we don't have a job, we're going to be either knocking doors or flyering up a neighborhood or, passing business cards out. But, we every job that we do, we at least, knock 10 to 20 doors around that house, or we'll just go ahead and knock that whole neighborhood if we don't have another job immediately.
And are you actually knocking on the door, or are you just leaving a door flyer and moving on to the next one?
So me and Patrick will personally knock on the door. We have one other guy, my stepbrother. We'll have him put the flyers on, but he knocks as well. He's learning to knock. He's shadowing us, so he's getting into that space. We rarely just put flyers, but yeah, door knocking is the number one key. If you need leads.
So Patrick, I just put him up there. He said, "What's up, guys?" This is when they came to the Christmas light class, and so with door, I'm gonna because this is something that doesn't cost you a thing, right? This is bootstrapping as much as bootstrapping as can get right here, is knocking on doors. What are some
Right.
key things of knock? Now, I know I talked about this with another fellow pressure washer that had or knocked their way getting started. what neighborhoods dictate that you want to go door knock? Is it the greenest houses on the block, or do you try to find the cleanest houses on the block and go door knock those neighborhoods?
Honestly, I don't, we don't spot knock. So we're not stopping. And if we see a house with the whole side green, we're not going to just stop and spot knock it. We are more calculated to where we'll pick a neighborhood out and we'll go execute that whole neighborhood. And honestly, like this, we have a few different red neighborhoods from last March that we knocked. So those are fresh to go. And we'll just re-hit those. So we'll mark like, okay, we got 5 leads out of this neighborhood. We can, re-hit them and then use those customers' names in the neighborhood as, hey, we did a job for Greg and Michelle down the street. We're just kind of stopping by to get some, tips. Have you guys thought about any jobs coming up, gutters, house, what's on your agenda coming up for summer? And just talking to the customer.
So Patrick put on birthday dinner date, but I had to tune in to hear you guys. Hope he doesn't kill me.
What's up, Pat?
So when we're knocking on doors, obviously you just kind of gave away that you just did the neighbor's house. And are we trying to pressure sales real hard, or are we just kind of letting them know that we're in the neighborhood and what do you need done?
So first, I'm definitely not pressuring the sale right away. I'm more of collecting information. So I just tell them like, hey, I'm just here in the neighborhood collecting information for my company. I don't let them know I'm the owner unless it gets deeper in the conversation and I can tell that it's going that way. But yeah, I let them know right away in the beginning that we're not pressuring it. We're just kind of collecting information.
Gotcha. And so as you've grown your business, obviously you've done more marketing and different things. So what are some other ways that you've done marketing to get more business?
Yeah, and this is a golden nugget for anyone that's coming up right now. Google local service ads. Local service ads was a huge key for our business, especially, with door knocking, flyers, business cards. Local service ads is another great one to apply into your business, because you're not just putting $500 out on an ad and hoping you get leads. You're only paying for the qualified leads that come back to you. And, we probably had, I think I looked at the numbers yesterday. We had like, I think 87 or 97 calls from leads that came in from local service ads last year. And we maybe only didn't close 5 of those. They were calling in ready to get on schedule. So local service ads was a key for sure.
So as Google local service ads, I'd agree 100%. There's something else you do a lot too that I like to see that a lot of people aren't willing to do is you do a lot of networking. I see you at a lot of networking events and stuff like that. How has that helped you? Because we all know that, and I know because there's people on here that's following you right now that's probably from your network. But how is it that you are able to use your networking? And you guys, when you see the picture, you two are like the youngest little kids in there, and it's a bunch of old people. And I ain't saying nothing bad about old people, but it's kind of funny to see you two that kind of stick out like, well, you really stick out like a sore thumb, but you kind of stick out different than everybody else. Tell me a little bit about the networking side.
Yeah, I love this quote is networking is your net worth. And, in the very beginning, I got invited by a girl I used to do sales with. Her name was Casey Boyer. That her and her husband owned Boyer Painting, which is a pretty big painting company in my area. And she just invited us out to come out, and we were like, okay, we'll come, check it out. It was a Thursday meeting, and we wanted to come check it out and see how it was going. So we started going to the networking event, and all of a sudden we started going every single Thursday. It's religious. We love being around the like-minded people. It's invaluable the conversations that we have in those groups on, Thursday mornings. And at first, we were trying to like, man, is it worth scheduling an hour in our Thursday morning for this meeting? But, we end up doing, 20K, ROI on the networking group. So networking has been a huge thing. We end up doing a 14K job through that painting company. They had us come and pre-clean 100 decks for them at an apartment complex before they went to stain them. So we would have never had that 15K contract, without going to the networking event every Thursday and just showing face, being there. So when someone does ask someone in our group for power washing or any exterior cleaning services, we're top of mind.
And that's an important thing of your network is your net worth. And as you grow it and as you get around like-minded people, you will grow. And that's the important part of it, of how you're able to grow. A lot of people are scared to death of that because they don't want to get in that area, or they don't feel comfortable, or they don't think they're good enough. But you're just a regular human being at the end of the day, and there's nothing special about anything. And that's the cool thing. I mean, did you go to college or anything, or you just been kind of what's your background there?
Yeah, so I, barely made it out of high school. I was one of the, troubled kids, I guess you'd say. I went to alternative high school because I got in trouble at normal high school. So college definitely wasn't in my cards, but I've been in sales for 10 years. So right out of high school, even in high school, I was door knocking. I was making my own paycheck, and then I upgraded that to selling car warranties over the phone. So I was selling, $4,000 policies in a, 10, 15-minute phone call, and I did that for like 5, 6 years. So doing
And
that, it really just made me my own person because I was on 100% commission. So I didn't have an hourly wage if I didn't sell to fall back on. I had to sell no matter what.
well, what they say is the seed player, the people that get C's in school are usually the owners, and they are the bosses of the A people, of the people that get A's in class. So,
Right.
and that is pretty much truth once you start looking at that. So, when did you actually start your pressure washing business? When did it actually kind of start?
Yeah, so we actually started the LLC in January 17th of last year. And we were trying to do it part time because we were like, oh, we don't know if we should make the jump. Pat was in the union, he was a roofer. What's up, Dewey? How's it going? And he was a union roofer, so he getting those paychecks. It's hard just to stop that. So come March, we figured out going part time in our business was never going to work for us. So Patrick actually quit first, and he had a rough day on the roof and just decided, this isn't for me anymore. I want to make my own paycheck. So he quit, and then about a week later, I decided, because I was making about 150K a year, selling car warranties. So it was kind of a hard choice for me to all of a sudden put that away and just go back to making $700 a week, because that's all me and Patrick pay ourselves is our bare minimum, just to get by right now. Because again, year one was just surviving and building the infrastructure for Aqua Rents.
So obviously you did Aqua Rent, and then what made you decide to do Christmas lights in the wintertime?
Yeah, so that was a pretty cool thing. We kind of always were like, man, we'll hang Christmas lights in the winter. We didn't have any guidance, so we didn't have a plan. We had maybe watched a couple videos on YouTube, and then we went to the huge convention, and we went there to meet Dewey, who just popped up on the screen, and a couple of the Southeast guys. And after, at the very end of the convention, is when Donovan was packing up his booth. He was leaving, and we were like, me and Patrick are just standing in the room with all the other vendors and just trying to talk to people about learning Christmas lights. And we end up bumping into Donovan. And once we sat down and talked to Donovan, he's like, he could tell that we were action takers. We were ready to go. So he gave us about 30 minutes of his time and kind of just talked to us about what the possibilities were and let us know about the training in North Carolina. And I think a week later, after actually that night, after the conversation with Donovan, we went back to our hotel room and came up with Gateway Glow, which that night at the Huge, we came up with our company, which was Gateway Glow, holiday lighting company or professional lighting company.
So how did that end up working out for you doing Christmas lights this season?
Oh man, that was amazing. I love Christmas myself. I always put up lights on my house, but never to scale or anything professional like what we're doing now. So it's definitely cool for me to go back and like our very first job that called us, it was we sent out, I think, over 240 quotes for our season. But our very first job that we sold was this little house, and she paid $1,200 for one strip on her lights, or on the ridge of the house. And her two little girls. They were two very young little girls, but we wore the Santa hats, we wore the Christmas shirts that you guys gave us at training, and we played the part as their elves for the day. And man, that was just a heartwarming moment for us, just to see their faces light up. And then we actually stopped on the way home and got them little Minnie Mouse dolls, and we brought them back that night when we went to check the lights, and we said Santa brought you a gift, and we gave them the minis. And just being a part of something that you can see that brings people so much happiness, it was just really cool to be a part of.
I remember you sent me a message after that first house.
Yep. Yep, they had us on the Ring camera.
That's awesome. Paul Gardner said that's why car warranty guy calls me every week.
Yep, that's us. That was me, not anymore. But yeah, introducing Christmas lights to our exterior cleaning company really helped bridge a gap for us. We were able to do 38K, so right under 40K in 2 months or something like that for us. So that was definitely huge for me and Patrick to help bridge us through the November and December slower months.
So, what's been the biggest challenge around about ramping up the Christmas lights or the pressure washing business?
I think the biggest challenge for us ramping up for pressure, I'll start with pressure washing first because that's where we started. I guess it's just consistency at first, making sure you're firing on all cylinders. Right in the beginning, we saw Google, the local service ads start taking off for us. So we stopped marketing everywhere else. We put all of our eggs in one basket, and then all of a sudden, local service ads stopped. And all of a sudden, we didn't have any leads coming in. So it made us revert back to door knocking. We immediately started door knocking again. Like, we were like, oh, cool, local service ads, we're getting 3 to 4 calls a day. We're good. We don't need a door knock right now. Well, what came from that was you can't put your eggs in one basket. You got to spread your marketing. So we fire on all cylinders when it comes to marketing, whether that's flyers, business cards, networking, yard signs, um, yeah, local service ads, Facebook ads, YouTube videos where we just started, and yeah, just nonstop firing.
And I was actually talking to a guy that he does pretty well. He did 700,000 last year, and he only did 600,000 this year. And why it was is because he did exactly what you said. He cut back on marketing. He cut back on the door or EDDM. He cut back on different things and wanted to go all in on Google, and it died on him. Right? Google died on him, and so it is important. That's why it is so important that we are doing the Facebook posts, we are doing the door knocking, we are doing the 5 rounds or 10 rounds, we are doing the yard signs, we don't stop, because you will
Yep.
get 1 2 leads from everything, and that's how we keep the lead flow coming. And if we do want to bump up somewhere, we got to bump up somewhere, but we can't stop the fundamentals when we do that. It's very important that we keep moving forward, otherwise it's going to the wheels will fall off, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and that was one thing that me and Patrick we had to talk about because all of a sudden the leads just stopped. So we were like, it scared us, because again we quit our full time jobs, so no cash flows coming in. It's not a good sign for us, especially in those early months. So that really we were glad that happened when it did, rather than at a later point. So we learned it early on from our mistake to not just put the eggs in one basket and to just fire at all cylinders. And the leads will come. They'll come.
So, what differentiates you from your competition?
Well, honestly, we don't look at it as competition. I look in my area, and we definitely have some good companies out there, but we never think of them as competition because the only people we're competing with is ourselves at the end of the day. You know, so as long as we're out there doing everything we're supposed to be doing, staying consistent, knocking those doors, pushing the leads, kissing babies, talking to everyone we can. That's we're happy with where we're at. We were able to pull 135K out of the beast in the belly of St. Louis, and I don't pay too much mind to the competitors, to be honest.
No, that's what you should do, right? I mean, it's not you are competing against yourself. That's what you're doing. Let's talk about. So you started off of nothing, and you started off of with the side of pressure washing. Let's talk about the good old pricing. How did you learn to do pricing, and what have you learned about pricing?
Yeah, dude, this is an amazing start to the story, really. So, right in the beginning, one of our first ways to figure out pricing was we called, okay, so local companies, but not in, not within 100 miles of us. So we're in St. Louis. We called Kansas City pressure washers. And I think it was the third or fourth company we called. The first three were like, yeah, we don't have time to talk to you. And they hung up. But the fourth guy we talked to, his name was Kenny, and that's a lifelong friend of ours now. We met Kenny on the phone. We let him know we were starting a company and we could use some guidance. And he was extremely happy to talk to us. He took about an hour to talk to us that first day, answered a lot of our questions, on what equipment we need, taught us about the J Rod in the beginning. Just, was just like someone that we could, reach out to with any questions we have. We could send him a picture of a house and say, hey, what would be the best way to handle this house and how much would you charge? So then we were able to take that information and apply it, to that. So now we have, Jason Gieman, we have, Jared Chanowski, we got Donovan. So now we've built this network of people that when we have a big commercial job come in, we can send that message out and say, hey, what is the best plan of attack on this job and what would you price that? And then we'll take, an average of all the numbers, take it on our cost and stuff, and then figure out what the pricing is going to be. But that Kenny, man, Kenny Tygart, he was a big help to our business in the very beginning.
And that's something that everybody worries about, the competition, and if you don't look at it as competition and how you can help each other, everybody grows, right? Everybody's worried about, oh, my pricing. And if you're worried about your pricing, of some pricing against someone else, when you go door knocking, those people aren't looking at calling three different people at that time, because you're done built that relationship, you're already there. And at that point, if they're either going to buy from you or they want you or not at that point, and they're not going to go say, oh, I'm going to go find three different people, because when they call three different people, they're probably not going to answer the phone anyway. So that's why they're going to use you right then and there. And that's the cool thing about how you're able to do that.
Yeah, and exactly. And one of the cool parts about him helping us was we got to a point where I don't want to say we surpassed him because he was only about 5 years in the business, but you could tell he was maybe kind of stagnant. He was okay with the jobs and money coming in. He wasn't really trying to ramp up and, take this thing to the moon like we are. So we kind of surpassed him in the washing pretty quick when he realized we were starting getting these commercial jobs coming in. But then he was able to reach out to us, and I was able to help him on the back end of marketing and teach him about Google local service ads and teach him about all the ways we were getting jobs. And then, he was on the verge of selling his company. And after we sat down and had a talk about marketing with him and his wife, you know, he was almost in tears because he was able to keep the company. And, after about a month or so, they were, ranking in the leads and they were starting to get more leads. And he was able to keep his guys busy and they didn't sell the company. He still has it.
And that's important, as it takes a lot to humble yourself a lot of time, especially when help someone and then they get better than you are, just for whatever reason. And it takes you got to humble yourself to be able to get to the level of, I got to listen to this guy or I'm going to go out on my own or go out of business. And that's an important part, that you got to be able to do that.
Yeah,
What are
for
some
sure.
what's your how what have you done so that you give customer the most best excellent customer service out there?
Yeah, so I mean, we took a how to wash course. We got certified in the chemicals and all the processing of washing, and we just make sure when we go out there we go above and beyond for our customers. So if we do a gutter clean and we blow out all the leaves and mud out of the gutters and it gets all over the concrete, we're not just leaving. We're going to clean that, we're going to spray off the house where it got muddy. We're going to, if we see a little square in the back of concrete when we're washing the house that needs a spray off, we'll spray it off if we haven't already tried to get the upsell. But we're really there pushing the upsell, but we definitely make sure that we go above and beyond for all of our customers if that means staying an extra 30 minutes.
Someone asked a question that was good. Dallas, how much is your company spending on marketing monthly?
Yeah, I don't. We just literally sat down with our CPA today to get our 12 months of data to see exactly where we're at. But I can say we're probably spending, with Google local service ads, it makes it really great because you only pay about 15 to 20 bucks a lead once they call your phone. And then we spend, the money on the flyers. Our networking group costs about $75 a month. So, I mean, I don't think we're spending over $2,500 a month right now,
Right.
because we're not blasting, a ton of money behind Facebook ads and all that. We got about 5 ways of marketing that works really good for us, and we're sticking with those. And then, come year two, that's when we'll be able to, look at our numbers and say, okay, we spent this X amount of money on marketing. We need to double down in these spots, and then, attack those.
So that's good. That moves us into a good question of tracking your metrics, and this is something that is important. And if you want to grow and scale, you got to track this not just yearly, but getting it down to the month, and even if you can get it down to the week. You know, a lot of people don't know their numbers. Most
Yep.
people are like, "Yeah, I made this," but they couldn't tell you how much everything costs, and this is important. And especially as you are growing, this is something that it takes time, but it's very worth it of making sure that you know your numbers. You know how much it costs you to get a customer. You know how much each customer is worth. You might not know the lifetime value of a customer, but you know how much that customer is bringing into you per customer. And this is important as we grow and scale, because otherwise, if we're just like, yeah, I'm going to throw $2,500 and that's going to get me customers, or I can say, I know if I spend $2,500 a month, I will get $30,000 off that
Right.
$2,500, right? Because it's 10% or wherever I'm at for wherever you need to be at for that. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, 100%. And in the beginning, this is exactly how we were tracking our numbers because we didn't have a CRM right away. We're action takers again. So we started with piece of paper. We were keeping our receipts, but like we keep these type of things, these little folders. They're Manila folders. Completed agreements for 1 to 331, and then we did it for the month of April, May. So we just, we wrote down the exact amount from our jobs, from our lead sheets right in the beginning, just to make sure we were tracking our numbers at least a little bit, because we knew it was important. But some people get scared by how many things that you have to do to start a business instead of just taking that first step.
Jeremy Olson asked, "What's the networking group? Is it just a local networking group, or what networking group are you with?"
Yeah, great question. So, our networking group that we do is Masters Network, and they're actually through the United States. They're in a different couple countries as well. They hold Zoom meetings. I'm guaranteed they're in your area. So, if you look up Master Networks, you can find a networking group to join. Like in my area, Missouri, they have 14 chapters. So, we're considered a unicorn because we're the only pressure washers in our group. So what that means is we can go to all those other 14 chapters, that's, just cities away from us that all have about 15 to 25 members in it. And we get to go in there, give our 30-second soundbite about who we are, what our company does. And we're able to do that because we're a unicorn. If I was a realtor, almost every networking group has a realtor, so I wouldn't be able to go to those other groups. But since I'm an exterior cleaning company, I'm available to go to all 14.
So, what would you say would be one to two most pivotal things you've done during your first year?
The most number one pivotal point for us was finding that soft wash mix, getting our house mix down and learning that we can actually clean a house without, trying to sit there and scrub or pressure wash or, do anything like that. Once we found that, me and Pat like had a light bulb moment. We were like, "Oh my goodness, this is what we've been waiting for." Because we've seen on all the other videos, like the time lapses, they'll spray the chemical on and it goes right off, and then they rinse it, they're gone, and it looks like 30 seconds. So when me and Pat initially started going out there and it wasn't coming off within 30 seconds, we were like, "Man, what's going on? What are we doing wrong? We thought we had everything right." But really, it was just not giving up and persevering through that and knowing that we're gonna figure it out. It's gonna be okay. And once we did figure it out, we just hit it even harder.
So, What? So that was the number one. What would be number two pivotal thing that you?
Number two pivotal was that day when we first secured that 10K contract. Because,
Let's
you know,
talk
I
about
was
that because this is something that when you went there and you looked at that building, what did you? What was the first thought in your head?
I saw a bunch of siding and I was like, oh my goodness, you know, we'll be able to wash all this. But then once I sat down and talked to the property manager, that wasn't even what they wanted cleaned. They wanted the breezeways cleaned. So it was all concrete work. So they're like, oh yeah, you guys have, you guys have taped doors in apartment complexes and stuff before. Me and Pat are like, yeah, of course, you know, we know what we're doing. So you know, we're more of we'll sell the job and then figure it out as we go type of people. So yeah, we sold that first job for the breezeways for 10,500. I have it hanging on my wall. It was 7 buildings for 1,500 bucks a building. And they were actually nice enough to share their past year's job that they booked for somebody. They said, "Hey, our budget's 11 grand. We spent 11.5 with this company last year. We'd like to be under the 11K if you can make it work." And I simply asked. I said, "What's your budget this year?" And then they let us know that where it was, so we sent in the bid. We thought 1,500 was fair price for us after, you know, especially in the beginning. We didn't really know what a fair price was, but after we talked to a few of our people, the Kenny guy and our really good friend Dewey, once we talked to them and got, information from them, we realized 1,500 was a good price. And yeah, we knocked that job out in 5 days. It was 5 long days with me and Pat, but we got it done. And I was making 10 grand a month, roughly, a little bit more, selling car warranties. And, I had never had that moment yet through the business where, like, oh man, this is going to be making more money than the warranties, because in that business, everyone always tells you you'll never make more money than the warranty industry. So I kind of had that stuck in my mind. But as soon as we were able to do that 10K in 5 days, I was like, oh yeah, it's go time.
So if you had to start over, what would you tell a new guy what to do for helping him get started?
Do your research for sure, and reach out to your competitors in your area, and don't be afraid to talk to them. We met 4 of our competitors at the Huge, and we were able to have a simple conversation with pricing and where everyone's at. And yeah, just making sure you do your research in the beginning and doing right by your customer. I think as long as you really just showing up, you're going to be better than 80% of the people out there.
So, what's your goal for 2024?
Yeah, so goal for 2024, we got some big aspirations coming up. We want to do 250K for Aqua Rinse our year two. And then for coming into year two for Gateway Glow, we want to do about 100K, which, I definitely think those numbers are, possible for us. So that's what we got written on the board, and, that's what we're going to shoot for.
So I think you should shoot for more on that on the Christmas sites. I think you should shoot like Sam did and get 250 your first year. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, after doing all the takedowns and, going through that first year of just learning the business and testing with customers and actually getting those sales and making those relationships, I think coming into year two with Christmas lights, yeah, we're going to crush it. I mean, I have no doubts in my mind. We got a big storage unit, so we already have all the lights taken down and, color coordinated by zip ties, and they're all stored in, those the fruit containers and stuff like that. So we have a whole system down now, and I think all we have to do is execute it for year two.
so as we get there for year two, right? For you, so your goal is $350,000 is what your goal is for pressure washing and Christmas lights. What is your plan for? Is Are you and Patrick just going to do it, or are you planning any employees, or what's your goal there?
Yeah, great question. So Pat actually got a new truck towards the end of the season. He was able to trade his old truck in and get a 250. So now we have 2 working trucks that we're going to try and run 2 trucks this year. I think we're capable of doing that. Me and Pat can each take a guy and train them as our helper, and then build them up as leads. Eventually as well. So yeah, our goal is to have, because I just found out I'm having a baby, so come August, I definitely want to be able to take, some time off to be with, my girl and the baby. So we want to definitely have employees and systems in place for when that comes.
So the one question was, what's the name of the marketing group? It was Mastering Network. What was
Master
it?
Network.
Master
Master
Network.
Network. Yep.
Big Rob, who really isn't big, he's kind of short, but is that question you ask all your commercial work? What's your budget?
Yeah, of course. It doesn't hurt to ask, and you'll never know if you don't ask. So, the worst thing they'll do is they'll just tell you they don't know, or waiting to hear back from corporate what our budget is this year. So, if they give you that answer, you can do a follow up email and say, "Hey, did you ever hear back?" Or you just send out the quote as you think is what fits it.
Yeah. Um, so what is your 3 to 5 year plan or goal for the two businesses?
Yeah, 3 to 5 year plan. I mean, we definitely want to be the number one washing in the Midwest. And especially with Christmas lights, I think we have definitely, you guys have helped us tap into a market with Christmas lights out here, and people are doing it. But I don't. There's only maybe one or two other companies that are. I feel like that when we were driving around these neighborhoods, seeing that do the professional work like us. And we our very first year with Christmas lights, it was awesome. We were able to team up with Toys for Tots, and we raised 4 trailers full of toys for local St. Louis kids. And Toys for Tots, I come from a military family, and seeing those Toys for Tots boxes my whole life growing up in school, it was really cool that we were accepted to be a sponsor for them. We donated some lights to their building. Wasn't a lot of lights, but we got to go on the radio. And going on the radio, we got 15 leads out of it, and we closed like 5 of them. So, sometimes, it is okay to donate those lights, but it was really more about being a part of that and getting out in the community. Me and Pat are community people. We want to get out, we want to talk to those people. We want to help in any way we can. We're givers. So if we can give back, we definitely want to do that.
Talk a little bit more about the giving side, especially for for Christmas lights. It's really easy to do. You can also do this for
Yeah.
pressure washing too. I know people that give away, maybe it's one a month, one a week, whatever it might be. But Christmas lights is definitely something that is huge. And so by able to giving away Christmas lights, and yes, it can help you out, and it probably will help you out by giving stuff away. How did that make you all feel? Obviously, we know when you seen the two little kids come out and got to deal with the kids. That's you never see somebody come out of their house and be like, "Oh my God, I just want to cry for seeing how clean this house is." But for
Right.
Christmas lights, when you see that, it pulls at the heartstrings a whole lot, and it
Oh,
makes
yeah.
everything worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah, so one of my best friends, Luke Farrell, he owns the two biggest Instagram accounts in St. Louis. It's called STL Bucket List. So we were actually able to run. We did 3 giveaways this year, not including the Toys for Tots. So we gave away 3 houses because again, that's just the people we are. If we can help and also get some marketing from it, why not? So we gave away the house to this family, and you could just tell that it's definitely out of their budget, but they won. They won, and we were able to give them like a $3,500 setup. They got the wreath, they got the whole house around, they got the columns wrapped, and their kids came out, and they were almost in tears that they wanted to provide the lights for their family, but they just didn't have the means, and they weren't getting on the roof. So me and Pat were able to get that put up in like maybe an hour, and we put the lights up, and then they were in tears, man, almost in tears, just coming out and thanking us that we made their Christmas. And you know being able to feel that, it's unexplainable until you can do it yourself. Like it makes you feel amazing.
You didn't get that feeling selling car insurance or car
No.
warranty, did you?
No, sir. Definitely did not. Yeah.
Kingdom Pro Wash is Google Local Ads. Google Ads? No, it is under its own thing. Google Local Service Ads. It is part of Google Ads, kind of like you got to set up your payment over in Google Ads, but it's in a whole different area of where the Google Ads are. So you got to have insurance. You got to have a clean record. You got to have 3 or 4 reviews. and they've actually went up on Google local service ads. They used to be 15 to 20. This year they went up to about $30 to $40 per phone call, but it's not per click, it's per phone call. So it's actually better than the other way around.
Yeah, I think ours averaged right about 21 bucks a phone call. And
Yeah.
again, those were the best leads that we could have ever got. You know, they were qualified leads that people were calling in to get on schedule. Again, we didn't know about local service ads till about the last 4 or 5 months of season, but we were able to pull out, 90, I think it was 80 or 90 leads from that. And we only didn't close five of them. So, I mean, you do the math on that. Those are pretty good odds.
So Daniel, he did 170 some thousand his very first year in Christmas lights. He killed it. He's a soccer coach. Never
Nice.
done anything else. He said, "Yep, asked for their budget. I just sold my first install for year two of a $47,000 commercial job. Wouldn't have got that if I didn't ask for the budget."
Yep, because you might undercut yourself because again, limiting belief. You can't you limiting belief. You taught me this, man. You can't you can't. You're not your customer. So $1,500 $2,000 light job or a $47,000 light job, like Daniel said. I mean, it's almost unimaginable. You can't think someone's going to spend that on Christmas lights until you actually see that. Oh wow, they have been doing that. They've been doing it for years.
So, what do you wish you had known? Which I know what you're going to answer on this one. What do you wish you had known when you were first starting out?
What I wish I would have known is, you
Not
know,
besides bleach works amazing.
yeah.
Besides that, what's the next thing?
Really just trusting in yourself, and I had definitely a couple of those early moments where I was like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work, and you know, it, I just always, I trust having a great partner for me was one of the biggest parts because I'm the sales and Pat's the operations, so he's the strong one carrying the ladders and doing the heavy lifting and all that. So I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at without my partner. And looking back, I couldn't have done any of this without him for sure.
And that's a good thing to have is that other person that can, that's your weakness, and I'm sure he's probably not the best at sales, is he's like
Oh
the
yeah,
opposite way. So it definitely makes a big difference.
yep, yin and yang in our business for sure. He handles the operations and I handle the sales. And as we scale, he'll take on more of that role as training the guys and being in the field or setting the field guys up, and I'll be more focused on the sales, the marketing, the back end stuff.
So if anybody has followed Dallas, they post a lot on Facebook and different things. And we talked about this before we jumped on of AI. A lot of his pictures are AI. A lot of people are like, I ain't got no pictures. And talk a little bit about that a little bit.
Yeah, man. AI, if you're not using it, you will be in the next couple years. That's for sure. It's definitely taken over and it definitely helps small businesses in certain aspects. And we use AI for, generating our captions. We use it for generating the images. So we use it as filler content. So me and Pat sat down a couple weeks ago and we decided that, no matter what, even, no matter what it is, we're going to get two posts out every single day on our Facebook page, no matter what. So AI has been a great filler content for us because we can say, hey, generate an image of a house, half clean or really whatever we needed to. So if you want to have it do a meme picture of a gutter cleaning, a funny picture that's engaging to people, you type that in, it's going to post it for you. So all the people out there that are saying they don't have content to post, there's definitely content to post. You just have to be the one creating it. You have to become the creator.
So we're coming into spring, and some guys may not have the courage to go do door knocking, but they want to start their business. Being that you all have done very well at the door knocking, what are some tips and tricks that you could tell somebody that they need to either maybe work on or some things that they could work on to help them be better at it?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first thing is, just trying to get your jitters out, practicing in the car with your buddy or, people at home or, girlfriend, mom, dad, whoever you can, practice, have them go behind a door. You actually knock on that door and, have your spiel going. Another way is, I always do a thing where you don't stand square off at the door. You stand open stance like this, and you take a step back, off to where the step down off their porch is. 1 foot up on the step, 1 foot down, and smile. Have an open stance, smiling. Definitely ring the doorbell. I always ring and knock just in case the doorbell doesn't work. Um, but yeah, you're just there, and again, you're not there to sell them. So that's what most people think. They get scared. Is, oh, I'm supposed to sell right there at the door. The best way is we do it is we tell them the quotes are good for a whole year. So even if you're not thinking about doing this project right now, what better way to budget for your project than knowing what the price is? So our guys are going to be in the area for the next week. We'll swing by sometime this, in the next couple of days, drop off a price for you. And if you like it, great. If you need some time to budget it in, we're here. So that's really the best thing that we can do is collecting information and not focusing on the sale, but also knowing when to sell. So when that customer starts providing the interest, oh yeah, I've been meaning to get my gutters clean, or I've been meaning to, clean my house or wash the house. Start, scraping at that wound, as I call it. Oh, you found the Band-Aid, start ripping there. So, oh, you need your house clean? Well, how long has it been dirty for? Or, just start getting those questions and getting them talking. And then next thing you know, they're going to be asking you, when can you come out?
So as you're doing that, and you had said something that I liked of do it, practice, right? Practice,
Mhm.
practice, practice. Use your buddies. Just use a video camera.
Yep.
And you're not going to be perfect. The better, and some of it is go knock on doors. That's practice, right?
Yep. 100%. And that's another, like, finding someone to talk to, whether again it's your mom, dad, cousin, uncle, someone that you can practice with, anybody, but doing it face to face, I feel like it's a little bit better than the phone because you get those, you get the feelings of actually talking to a human, and you can kind of, it's you pick up on little cues with people.
And two, you can film yourself as you're doing this and look back, and maybe you're using your hands too much or you're jittery
Right, or
too
you're
much,
crossing your arms or something like that. Yeah, for sure,
right?
videoing it.
So I knew I would get some stir about the AI. So what AI are you using for graphics and content?
Yeah, so we use ChatGPT, the paid version 4.0. It's great. It does anything and everything that you can need or want.
And
Um,
and the
so,
the, the ticket to that is make it don't say any words, because a lot of times you'll just put don't put words on it, because usually it screws up the words on it.
yep, and it will still probably put words on it. So yeah, usually it takes us about seven to 10 tries to get the image that we want. Sometimes it will pop up perfect the first, 1 or 2 tries, but usually we're, asking it a question, it comes up with an image, and then we're telling, okay, do better on these things. We keep adding and give the more information you can provide it instead of just create me a picture of self washing. Give it a whole paragraph of details. And that's another thing that we've been doing, especially with our YouTube videos that we just started posting on our Aqua Rinse YouTube channel. Is we'll have it script us out a voiceover, but then we completely edit it and make it our own. But that it gives you a guideline of kind of what to say, when to say it, and yeah, man, it's invaluable. If you're not using ChatGPT, you definitely make sure you buy it. It's $20 a month or something like that. It's paid itself over 10 times for us for sure.
And if you didn't know, my list of questions came from AI, so I use it
Yep.
myself. So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's again, if you're not using it now, you will be one day.
and it's just like Dallas said, garbage in, garbage out. So you got to put good information in to get good information out, and put as much in it as you can. And let that keep running, because when you do that, it'll go back up and learn from it and give you better and better. Don't keep doing a new chat every time. Keep that chat going. And so I'll give you a little bit of back reference of what I did is 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I did my story. I gave, like, from me starting out as a homeschooler going all the way through my story. And I did that twofold. One, I did get pretty vulnerable and opened up a lot of things that most people would have never knew about me. And two, I was able to take that information and dump it in Chat GPT and to let that analyze it, and now I can use different things off of that. So that's the reasons why you want to be able to do this stuff with the AI side of things. So
Yeah, and
just a
again,
little.
we're not Yeah,
Go
and again,
ahead.
we're not fully integrating AI to where we just type something in and completely copy and paste it. We're definitely gonna let it do its thing, and then we're gonna take that and make it our own. Because it's still AI. It's still right now the stages it's in. It's not gonna be perfect. It's gonna say maybe a weird sentence in the middle, or so definitely proofread your scripts that are coming back from ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using, and just make sure that it says what you want, because there's a lot of people out there that they'll just copy and paste it and not reread it, which it only takes about a couple of seconds to read.
So I always like to ask, and I don't know, do you read any books?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Big
what
books
has
are
been a book that has helped you grow in your pressure washing Christmas light business?
Yeah. So tenfold, the best book that I read. There's I guess it's kind of hard to pick one, but How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a great book. Rich Dad Poor Dad's another great book. But the one that I'm reading recently right now is I just finished reading It's Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And wow, that book right there, if you guys out there haven't read that book, go get it. It's definitely worth it. And there's a couple of chapters that play over in my head every single day that I use it to my advantage for sure.
So reading books, I agree, is 100%. And I love it. I actually just read How to Win Friends and Influence Others here recently. I've always heard about it. I started reading it a long time ago when I first started pressure washing, because Kurt Kempton from Responsibid was one that told me to read it way back when. And it didn't mean as much as it did it to when I read it this time. I think in life you learn different things, and I've been reading The Law of Success and The Law of Success and Think and Grow Rich, and that's something that I pretty much read almost every day or a couple times a week that I'm reading it. And every time I read it, it's like you get something else out of it, and it's pretty cool of how you're able to do that. So
Yeah, man. Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was the first two books that they handed me when I started canvassing and door knocking at a home improvement company when I was 15 years old. And, I was working with a bunch of friends, and they were, their canvas department, I idolize that. And, I want to build the same type of canvas department for my company as what they did. Cause man, it was a complete oiled machine. They were getting leads nonstop, but they also had, everyone was educated, not educated with school, but educated in different ways of selling. Cause that's all we were doing at that time was door knocking. So sales was the number one thing for us. And yeah, Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends definitely are two books. If you haven't read them, definitely go back and read them. And after you saying that, I honestly might go back and read How to Win Friends, because I haven't read that since the canvassing days. So might be good to pick that one back up for sure. I'm actually reading Seven Habits of Highly Effective People right now.
good book.
And yeah, that one's a good one. I'm about halfway through that. But
So
I'm actually picked up a new one as well. I put that Seven Habits down. My girlfriend's mom got me a the Expecting Father book. So I put the Seven Habits down, and I'm reading that now since I'm on a time frame.
yep, you only got a few months left.
Yep, exactly.
Um, Jason, you're telling me you put your life story to get the information from ChatGPT to learn more about yourself. Yeah, I mean, and then that's how it works. Because now I will ask it to write different things that will help me write it out, and it pulls different stories from it. It pulls all kinds of crazy stuff from it.
And I treat it like a friend. I told Pat came in one morning and I was like, yeah, I'm treating this like my best friend. I talk to it like a person, and I give it as much information as possible, because in the beginning, again, that's my style. I do all the, the marketing, a lot of the social media stuff. But getting that integrated with Pat, he's starting to learn it, and he's crushing it now. He's making sure our posts are up. He's doing a lot of that back end stuff. He's learning, and I'm learning the the field stuff more. So we're both well rounded in our areas for sure.
Wish I had more time to read. I always say, well, if you drive, that's the time that I used to always listen to the audio books. Is driving is a good time to listen. So
Yeah, I mean, just make time for because what you're going to get out of those books again is invaluable, especially if if you want to get your business to be where you want it to be, you got to read and learn from other people that have been in your place.
So, what would you tell someone before some words of wisdom of either a pressure washing Christmas or just business in general?
Some words of advice. Really, hit those streets again. That's where our lead generation comes from on our slow days of the Facebook ads or the Google ads, or that is hit the streets. So one thing me and Pat do is every day we don't have a job, or if we finish a job early or we're done by 12 or whatever, we'll take our business cards, just a simple Aqua Rents business card with our information on the back, Patrick Wigginton, owner, and we go and give those out to every single business we see. We'll even go to the commercial trucking side of St. Charles, which is in our area. It's only like trucking companies. We'll go everywhere we can see that we can go in, and we'll beat those gatekeepers, and we will find the property manager, because all those buildings need cleaned, and someone's doing it, and we want to be the number one people cleaning in our area. So passing out those business cards. Kenny told us a story in the very beginning when we first, started out. Was he went out and passed out 10 business cards in his area 5 years ago, and 6 months later he got a call from one of those 10, and it ended up being a 30K job. So once he told us that story, we each ordered 1,000 business cards. We each had 1,000, and we went and hit the streets, and we passed out 2,000 business cards in probably a week. I'm not even kidding. I mean, we hit every single gas station, every restaurant, and those are all people that have been calling later on that are wanting to set up quotes for this year. And, putting that effort in early on, you're going to reap the benefits for sure.
All righty, Mr. Dallas, I appreciate you coming on. I'll try to get off here right about an hour. And so if you didn't know it, this is a great one to go back and watch. If you want to check out my stuff, I do have King of Pressure Wash. I have an online course, and I also have an in-person class. We do have one coming up in April. Also for Christmas lights, it's the Christmas light or pressure washing, and that's where I met Dallas was at the Christmas light class, and you can find that at christmaslights.io. But other than that, I hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you all later. But hang
See you
on,
guys later.
Dallas.